So most people see Illuvium Zero as that high ticket price point in game in the Illuvium ecosystem. You need to be a whale to participate. You need to buy this land that costs, upwards of $500-$600 minimum. But I truly believe Illuvium Zero can be the best onboarding tool Illuvium has. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why. So let's get on to some of the notes I have here. So why do I think Illuvium Zero can onboard millions and be the #1 onboarding tool for Illuvium? Well, it's quite simple. It's a mobile game, it's free to play, or at least there is a free to play version of this, and it's very Web 2 friendly. There are going to be a lot of people who download and play this game and don't even know that there's an NFT side to it or a Web 3 side to it. So in my opinion, in order for Illuvium Zero to be that onboarding hub, it needs these three things. Now, the gameplay needs to be fun. That goes without saying. Any part of this game needs to be fun, but especially a game like this, because if we're going to be using the free-to-play version to onboard new players into Illuvium, these players are going to have to play it out of pure enjoyment without expecting any returns from it. The second thing it needs a social element and a player versus player element. This isn't going to be one of those games where you just hop on, do your own little thing, close the app, and have fun with it. The fun here is going to be able to interact with other people in the ecosystem and other plots of land. And the third thing we need out of Illuvium Zero is that the free-to-play version of this also interacts with the Web3 ecosystem and economy. Now, we know as it stands right now, there is a free-to-play game, but there hasn't really been any talk about how it fits into the whole ecosystem. And I think a big mistake would just have it as a standalone game, where you're playing it the same way you play it now, but the fuel and blueprints you produce can't be sold off and they don't have any real value. It's like a fake fuel and a fake blueprint. I think that would be the wrong way to go about it, and I'll get into a little bit of my ideas right now. So I have 3 ideas for Illuvium Zero and how the free-to-play version integrates with the Web3 NFT version. So we have alliances, we have asset sharing amongst those alliances, and a raiding and looting game. Now obviously the raiding and looting takes a little inspiration from Clash of Clans, but the way I see it, it would be completely different. So let me show you my quick idea, and I'm not going to get too in-depth here, because the gameplay here is not really the most important part, but if I show a little something about my idea of the gameplay, it helps explain the alliances and the asset sharing a little better. So this is how I could see it working. In your normal Clash of Clans, you build a lot of structures that actually work as defense. And if Illuvium Zero were to adopt that model, they'd have to add so many more structures to the mix. So how I imagine it is that your alluvials act as your defense mechanism. And this would be similar to a PvP auto battler, to be honest with you. So you'll see here I highlighted all of the resources, anything that can produce or hold fuel or elements. So we're looking at your storages, your extractors, and your converters. Now, as an attacker, your goal is to destroy those structures and get a percentage of those elements and fuel. But it all starts on the defense side of things. So if you're preparing your land for defense and to be on the defensive, you'll have a deck of alluvials that you'll place throughout your land plot. Each alluvial, similar to the arena-style auto battler, can have different power and speed and abilities, although for this game it will be simplified down. So as an attacker, when you go to attack someone's land, you're going to be presented just like you would in the arena. You're going to see what your opponent's deck looks like. But then you're not going to see where those alluvials are placed on the map. So this is where you go in and you place your alluvials. So highlighted in red are the alluvials I'm placing as an attacker. And then what happens is you're just going to click play on that land. The defending alluvials are going to pop up, and it's going to be another auto battler. But again, the details of how this PvP or raiding system would work is really not too important for this video. And there could be many, iterations of this that works well. But I just wanted to give you a quick idea of how I see this working. But to get over to the more important part here, so the alliances and asset sharing. So I see this alliance working in kind of 2 directions. And we'll call it a horizontal direction and a vertical direction. In the horizontal direction here, these are going to be your NFT lands. And then if you look in the vertical direction, these are going to be your free-to-play lands. So in this system, each free-to-play land will be considered a ranger land, And if you are an NFT landowner, you'd be an officer landowner. Each ranger needs to be assigned to an officer. So as you can see in this, these 3 free-to-play lands are assigned to this officer. This free-to-play is assigned to this officer. These 2 are assigned to this officer. And all of this as a whole makes up the alliance. Now in this looting or raiding style game, the NFT landowners can raid and loot elements and fuel. And this will just be a small percentage from the opponent's land. Now, as an NFT landowner, there will be a semi-permanent shield on your land that only gets lifted when you attack. So if you're somebody who's thinking, oh, I don't want a raiding game because I don't want people stealing my fuel or my assets, my real value. Well, as long as you don't go out and attack anybody, nobody can ever attack you. So it's kind of an opt-in thing. If you opt to go and try to raid somebody else's land, then you'll expose your land to being raided for a certain time period. I threw in here, maybe 12 hours. After your final raid, you have to wait 12 hours, and then that semi-permanent shield will come back on your land. Now, here's how I think things can get, pretty interesting. So these free-to-play players, they don't own this land. They can't produce fuel on this land. And in all likelihood, these are people who maybe don't have the best alluvials to actually defend and raid their land. So as an option, these free-to-play players can use a deck created by the NFT owner or their officer in their upline to raid and defend their own land. And when these free-to-play players use the NFT holder's alluvials to attack, that NFT holder gets a percentage of what was looted on that land. And as an extra incentive for alliances and NFT landowners to promote the free-to-play game and to get more people to join their alliance, there could be a percentage, let's say 5%, of any in-game spending that those free-to-play landowners might use to buy credits to speed up their land. 5% of that revenue can go right to that NFT landowner or that officer in their upline. So this is mutually beneficial. If you're holding that NFT and you have a good deck, you're going to be able to recruit a lot of free-to-play players in your downline because they get to use your alluvials. And in return, you get a percentage of everything that they raid from somebody else's land. And if they decide to make any in-game purchases, you get a small kickback, let's say 5% of their in-game spending. Now, another thing that could be added on here is if you're a free-to-play landowner and you're using your officer's deck to raid somebody else's land, you could possibly come up against another NFT landowner and you can raid their elements and their fuel. So how this will work is the landowner will get a split of that fuel, let's say maybe 50%, and then the other 50% can actually go to the free-to-play landowner. But the fuel in the game hasn't actually been minted yet. It doesn't get minted until it's sold off. So the fuel can go to these free-to-play players that they can use for upgrades and upgrading their structures, but they can't actually sell it to the balancer or the fuel pool. So that's actually a mechanism of deflation for the fuel, increasing its value for the NFT landowners. And these free-to-play plots won't have that semi-permanent shield on their lands. For them, it would work similar to like how that Clash of Clans actually does it, or Mavia if you're playing Mavia, where after you get looted, you might get a shield for a certain amount of time, and then your land is free to be raided again. This is needed because if free-to-play players only went up against free-to-play players, and NFT players only went up against NFT players, matchmaking would be a little tougher. So this is a way that the NFT landowners and the free-to-play players can get matched up against each other. And how, even though there'll be different rule sets for these two types of land, they're together in the same ecosystem. The PvP is together, the social element is together, but it keeps the integrity of the NFT landowners being the only ones that can produce and sell fuel to the market. Now, I feel like that might be a lot to take in. Like I said, this is just kind of like a work in progress, but I think this is the type of thing that's needed for people out there to actually download and play this free-to-play version. Give them a place in this ecosystem. Because this is a fully mobile game, you're opening up a whole new audience. Everybody in this world that can't afford to have a computer or is just a mobile game player, in those third world countries where mobile gaming is very big, and the more people you get to play this free-to-play version and get exposed to the ecosystem and see the potential of what they could be earning if they actually had that NFT land, the more of them are going to, look deeper into it and decide that it might be a good investment for them. And then this can overall raise the value of the NFT land because you have more people playing it. And then you'll get the spillage over of those people who started on Illuvium Zero going to the main game and collecting their own Illuvials. But let me know in the comments if you think this is a good idea, or at least, like I said, along the lines of a good idea. Now, I would love to write up some kind of proposal for this with help from the community. And I guess since I'm sitting on the strategy subcouncil, I could submit those ideas to the game council and see if something like this could possibly get rolled out. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you on the next one.